Okay, good morning, everyone. We're going to wait a couple of minutes actually, because we've got quite a number of people registered for today's business chat. So I'm just going to wait for people to get online.
Not a problem.
Hello, everyone online. We're just waiting for more people to dial in. Just one more minute. Then we'll get this started. Okay, I think we'll get started, everyone. Welcome to this first live business chat for the ESSA Business Network. My name is Nadine Presland, if you don't already know me. I am your MC for today, and we've got an action-packed session with quite a number of speakers. Just before we get started, I'll do the housekeeping business. So for everyone online, attendees, members, you have the opportunity to ask questions to any of our speakers. They're all going to speak for approximately 5 minutes each. And then during that time, you can type in a question in the chat function. Can I just remind everyone, in that chat function, it'll say to, and then you've got a little drop down menu, and can we have that to all attendees and all panelists so everyone can see that question? That would be really great. Apart from that, that's pretty much all the housekeeping, except this will be recorded. It will be up on the ESSA Business Network later on this week. So as I said, there's a number of panel speakers today. We've got a lot to get through. So I'm going to push through and we're going to get started with Jason Pilgrim from the Profitable Practice powered by the Global Kaizen Group. And Jason and I have come up with this chat, if you like. We wanted to address the real issues in business. I hear in this office that lots of business owners are concerned with the health system and, you know, this whole 5 CDM sessions, it's a little limiting. How can we work around that? And also, business owners want more profit and they tend to want more clients. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Jason has kindly agreed to attend today as the business expert, if you like, and he's also recruited a lot of his clients here today to speak. So everyone's taken some earning time out of their day. So I'm very thankful to all the speakers that have come on board today. So Jason specialises in health business development, and I'm not going to talk too much more about that because he is. So Jason, over to you. Over to you now. I just want you to introduce yourself a little bit and talk about the environment with AEPs in business especially, and how we can sort of look at the private client model.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Nadine. Appreciate it, and welcome to everyone. As Nadine said, it was something that we've been chatting about for a while, and just we wanted to be able to not just say, "Hey, here's a great way of doing it," but we wanted to be able to actually highlight some of the you know, EPs that have done this really successfully. Because I think there's probably 2 things that I really wanted to highlight in this early stage, and probably I hope that didn't pick up, but a very, very large plane has just gone straight across the top of the building. But so here's the thing. 2 things you asked me to just sort of tell them a little bit about myself. Obviously, I'm an EP, and I've had a lot to do with a lot of different companies, bought, built, sold, been in and out of different states. Still have my own private clinic. I still have a corporate health company, and then I've branched out into, you know, importing and cosmetic injecting and banking and all sorts of stuff. So, so I take a lot of what's happening in other industries because, as we know, the health industry and a lot of academia and Medicare, NDIS and things like that, those cogs move very, very slowly. So we want to be able to turn around and say, hey, we don't want to rely on those systems. We don't want to be relying on people that are, you know, 12 months or 18 months behind. We want to be able to bring those things out. So that's what we've been really heavily doing for probably about 6 years now or more. And we work with some amazing health teams, everything from sole traders doing, you know, $50,000 or $60,000 a year, startups to, you know, multi-million-dollar businesses. One of my really cool clients, only a couple of months ago, we sold 4 of his clinics for $2.8 million. So there's people online now that are going, holy, and I swear all the time, so I've got to be really careful because I know you probably don't want me to, Nadine, but people are going, wow, 4 clinics for 2.8 million and stuff like that. And yeah, that's what we do. So we've got a whole gamut, and we see a huge amount of clientele. And look, at the end of the day, there's 2 things we want to achieve today. One is having a mentality in and around profit, because I like to make sure people realize that cash is vanity, but profit is sanity. All right, you can. I'll tell you right now. There's 2 or 3 people in our industry that are very that are quite loud and outspoken, that run $600,000 or $800,000 health businesses, but they want to brag about that type of stuff. But when we actually look at the metrics and the behind the scenes, they're actually still working 4 or 5 days a week. They're running all this stuff because they've got good cash flow. But cash flow, you know, the whole thing of cash is king is a little bit misguided. Having a business run off big cash is a vanity situation. It's about the profit at the end of the day. And we've got to understand, and I know that you wanted to keep me really short on things, so I'm going to be quite direct about it. We're in the business of health, guys. We're in the business of health. If you've got charitable pursuits, philanthropic pursuits, you want to chase your passion programs and stuff like that, absolutely, that's awesome. I mean, I spend more than $35,000 a year on my charitable pursuits. We're about probably times that by 5 or 6 in the next 12 months. We can do that. You guys can do that. But I mean, Tim, when he talks later and that's why I really want to bring Tim on it. Tim's really, in many respects, 12 months ago, had to learn the hard way that you can do so much more for the people you're trying to help out by having a bigger business and a more profitable business. So if you actually want to be able to help more people and you've got that mentality that it's not about the money, I completely agree. It's not about the money. It's about impact and changing lives. But you've got to understand that you can do so much more with those people that you're trying to help out on those passion programs, etc., if you have a bigger business that has better profit. Okay, so just because you've got big cash flow or a business that's sort of 200, 500, 1 mil, 2.5 mil. I dealt with a client about 2 years ago that had a $2.1 million health business, and he was struggling to pay his mortgage and things like that. So it's not about cash. That's the vanity side. It's about profit. It's what you're going to be actually taking home, because there does, and we won't go into this side of it today, but there are gaps where you can get to a $300,000 business, and the gap, you're actually going to earn most of the time less money to the jump to 500,000 than what you will if you stayed at 300. And I know a couple of guys online are now nodding because they've been through that. We've coached them through that over a very short period of time. So probably that's the first thing. And the second thing that we really wanted to make sure that we worked on was, I have a lot of people that come to me all the time. I average about 6 people a week, new people that I've never spoken to, coming to me every week saying, Jace, can you help me with my business? And I would say 9 times out of 10, they come to me with one common challenge or problem. They say, Jace, I need more clients, or I need more leads. I need more patients. Help me grow my business. And I'll say, what do you need? Knowing that they're going to come back with, I need to be able to see more clients. I need more new clients. The challenge is this: if you think about it as a funnel and you divide a funnel into 3, that's all the leads, and that comes through as the top of the funnel, right? As EPs and as health professionals, we do this all the time. We get the referral in the top and we miss the middle of the funnel. We go straight to the bottom where we sell, that dirty word, right? And we go straight for the close. We want to try and find out what they want. Oh yeah, we can help that. We can do this. This is what makes us great. And we go straight to a sell and straight to a close. And we miss the middle part of that funnel. And the middle part of that funnel is where we actually develop our authority. It's where we actually continually warm up people. It's the constant touch points. It's the customer experience. It's being able to work with more people, give more value, and help out more people without that expectation of return. And that takes time. It takes effort. But that doesn't take, it's something that once you develop it once, it's very easy to systemize and automate that. And I find that too many of allied health professionals get the top of the funnel, they go straight to the close, and they don't actually earn the right to ask for a sale. So their conversions are down. And then when they do work with people, we then have this mentality that we've got 3 sessions. I think you referred to it before, Nadine, as the 5 CDM sessions. Hey, I got 5 free sessions from my doctor and all that type of rubbish, right? you can't make profit from running a Medicare-based model in a private practice-based thing by bulk billing out 4 or 5 sessions and that type of stuff. It doesn't work. You will chase your tail over and over again. And so it's about actually working. We've got 2 of our signature systems, and we actually work with the patient pathway to show people how to actually take that mentality of 3 or 4 or 5 sessions and roll that ethically, not just see you next week, not just billing out ridiculous amounts on DVA and all that rubbish, because I'm completely dead against that. I've actually booted 2 clients away within the first couple of weeks of working with them when they didn't want to change that model, because we don't get involved with it. But it's about having the right pathway and the right roadmap in place to understand what's going forward. And one of the big things that we miss as allied health professionals is we choose to sell to people once. And this is something we need to understand the mentality of. A referrer sends someone, or they find us, doesn't matter how, they come in to the top of the funnel, and we sell to them once. They come in with a bad back, or they come in with diabetes, and we sell to them once. It makes no sense, right? It's like you walking into a hairdresser and getting your hair cut once and then never getting your hair cut again. You've got to learn as a business owner in the health industry how to upsell and cross-sell, how to work on different services, different products, how to work with different colleagues in your business, out of your business, and put those in place, which is part of that patient pipeline that we have and the patient pathway. Because it's only once you start to see a client more than about 4.2 times on average for most businesses as a private model that you'll really start to make good profit. Okay, so we need to make sure, and we do this all the time. I mean, John's going to talk about this later, and we increased his profit in his business by 175% in just over 3 months. So can we make some massive changes to people's lives and businesses in a short period of time? Absolutely. And a simple example, if you're getting 4 sessions from a doctor and you roll out the right pathway, like the patient pathway and the pipeline that we actually have, and you only increase that to seeing a patient 5 times, ethically, morally, for the right reasons. This isn't involving all these other services and groups and all these other things that we can do. But if you only took that from 4 to 5, you're actually increasing your value with that client by 25%. So in the business of health, a $200,000 business is now going to be turning $250,000. And of that, the vast majority of that $50,000 is straight profit. You don't have a huge amount of expenses. If you've already bought the client once, which you have, you've bought it through your marketing and your exposure, then why would you rebuy more leads? Why would you now go and try and get more clients and more clients when we know every single one of us don't do enough for the clients we already have as it is? They're coming to you for a deeper thing. It's not just the sore shoulder. There's a whole lot of other reasons about helping out, being able to go on to cricket training with their son, or being able to pick up the grandson or granddaughter or something like that. There's always other things that we can be doing and working with that client. And there's a crazy amount of ways that we can do it. But I think EPs, we box ourselves in and we go, oh, we can't bill out every day under DVA. Of course we don't. And no one's saying that. We shouldn't just only be seeing a client 4 times under a CDM situation. There is so much more that we can be doing with clients. And I really wanted to try and make sure that today was about those 2 points. One is it's about profit. It's not about money. And secondly, it's about not just having that mentality of growing new leads and new prospects, but it's actually about making sure that we work more with the clients that we have so that we can actually increase the profitability of our business by keeping our expenses down, driving our revenue, and increasing that gap. So yeah, that's probably enough from me at this early part. Is that okay?
Jace, I've got a few questions for you because
okay.
When members registered to be online today, I asked them if they had a question. So I've summarised these questions into kind of 3 main questions. Now, we could speak for 10 minutes on each, but we don't have 10 minutes. So I'm going to give you about a minute to answer each one.
That means 90 seconds for me. Cool. I can do that.
Righto. Okay, so the first question. Are there steps you take to retain a client when they do not want to rebook or seek an alternative, cheaper service?
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, if I've got 60 seconds to answer this, I'm going to be really direct on it. We're not going to be able to go through and do like all the steps because there's no way I can do that in like a 1 minute. That's like a 1 hour webinar in itself, which we can follow up and do later if we're wanting to. But actually, I want to challenge your mentality a little bit. The thing is as soon as you said cheaper or alternate, is that right? Cheap. Yeah, cheap. that is our responsibility, not their responsibility. If they've seen you once or twice and they feel that there is no value there, or that they feel that they can get what you're giving for a cheaper price with someone else, I hate to say it, I'm a little bit rude, it's not, but that's actually your responsibility. You've actually failed in your job to show the value and demonstrate what you can do that others can't. You've failed to actually make the client really feel that what you're offering, it's like you can go and get EP services over there. You can go and do that, absolutely. But if you want this and only this, you got to come to us. And that's your responsibility as a practitioner and a business owner for all of your team to be able to demonstrate the fact, what are the services, what are the niche areas, what are the guarantees, how do you reduce the risk of buying, how do you reduce the friction for them to come to you in the first place? And if you haven't done that and their mentality is, I can do this, I want to do a cheaper or alternate service, the bigger crux to this that you should be answering first and foremost is, how do I improve? Not what did I do wrong, but how do I improve? Because I've actually probably failed. It's a bad word, I know. But how have I not provided the responsibility to make sure they realize that, hey, I could go anywhere else, but I don't want to because these guys know me, they understand me. And I believe 100% that the pathway and the journey that we're on can only be done with this person. So that's what I'd be saying first and foremost. You got to play above the line on this. It's your responsibility. Ultimately, our brains are wired to think that something that's more expensive is better. So if they're thinking that they want to do something cheaper or they can get it cheaper, you haven't actually shown that what you're doing is any better than anyone else, which is that's scary. And I know a few of the guys are nodding at me in that as well. So yeah, that's what I'd probably challenge that mentality first and foremost before then looking at the steps.
Okay, next question. This came up quite a few times and is a regular concern. How do I maintain private clients in a low socioeconomic area? So when you know that your market or that people in your environment are strapped for cash, basically.
Yeah. Okay, cool. These are great questions. Ones that I can't answer in 60 seconds. So thank you for putting me on the spot with it. Let's do this. Touch points, customer experience, they're probably some of the big ones you really need to work on. Making sure you got the right touch points to make people feel engaged. The word feel is really, really important here. People can hear what you say. People can see it written. They can feel, not feel, they will, you can say and do whatever you want. Basically, feel it. Unless they believe that you're on the journey, there's a massive risk of disconnect. And this is heightened massively when you look at a low socioeconomic area. We could try that route now in the next 25 seconds about all the different options. Using groups is a great way for socioeconomic challenges. There's a lot of different little tips and tricks that you can explore, and happy to do that later if we need to, on the tangible benefits. And some of the guys today will be able to highlight that as well, which is great. So I won't steal their thunder. But I would probably also go back to things like that, the patient pathway, and making sure that we have the right roadmap in place. One of my signature systems is a patient pipeline, so that they're very, very aware of where they're going, what the logical next steps are, what the journey is going to entail, how we're going to work this together. It's actually mapped out and worked with them. That brings the feel into it. When people feel that this is in place, people don't care for the money side of things. Obviously, we could all challenge that by saying, well, if I'm going to ask $200 for a 1-hour consult in an area that's, that's a really poor blue collar worker, absolutely. But that would be a dumb financial business decision for you to go and do that. You've got to know your area, and you've got to make sure that you're obviously tailored into that. And there's a lot of different simple ways of doing it. But the fact is, if you're in a really low socioeconomic area, you're going to have to leverage out of some tips that the guys are going to talk about and some groups. But you have to make sure that you've got the right, that they feel it, that they're part of it. Otherwise, they will make sure that, they won't make sure, they will have lower retention. They'll have increase in cancellations. And ultimately, you're going to get more frustrated with it as well. So in some respects, you've either got to change your model, and in two facts. One is change the model to suit the environment, but more importantly, you need to make sure that you're bringing them on the journey with the right customer experience, the right touch points, because ultimately, and this is actually a great book, it's called Selling the Invisible. Ultimately, you are selling an invisible, non-tangible thing. You can walk in and buy a shirt and you get it. But to walk in and buy better health, you don't get it. They've got to feel it and experience it, and it can take time. So touch points, customer experience, and change around your model in that respect is always going to be the best way forward.
Okay, final question before we get on to listening to Anna.
Yeah.
Here it is. It's interesting. How do you constantly review the external marketplace to best understand key order winners and qualifiers in target markets?
Sorry, can you say that again?
How do you constantly review the external marketplace to best understand key order winners and qualifiers in target markets?
Okay.
Interpret that as you will.
Yeah, okay, because all right, so the way correct me if I'm wrong here, my interpretation of this, actually, and don't hate me for it, but I actually think the person who asked this question, the mentality around what they're approaching needs to shift. It needs to be a paradigm shift. You shouldn't actually be chasing a marketplace. We all know the phrase, there might be a hole in the market that you're trying to fill, but is there actually a market in the hole? Because I actually spoke about analyzing other targets and things like that. I think the mentality here is got to shift. You've got to start with your target. You've got to understand what your expertise and authority is. It would be like, give an example. It might be, hey, I'm going to go and do and Ben's going to talk about golfing stuff. It's going to be, if Ben goes and sets this up, it's his authority, and we've set up these programs and all this stuff, et cetera, and then there's no one within 30 kilometers that actually goes to a golf course because there isn't a golf course around because he's out at Alice Springs. That's actually the wrong mentality as to what you're doing. You shouldn't be tailoring yourself to what's in your area. You should be using your targets, your knowledge and expertise and niches, and moving that to where the actual where the actual hole is in the marketplace. So rather than actually just going, I've got to tailor what's around me to the, get your targets to match what's in the area. I'd actually say that's a wrong way of doing it. You've got to start with who you are and what you do, and make the approach based on your passion, your authority, your expertise, not just mold your business to what's in the area. Worst case scenario, if you need to move, then that's completely fine. I mean, I've got clients that move into state because they know that the opportunity of where they're trying to put their business needs to be not where they're currently located. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure, Jace. We've got a question here from Nathan, but we're going to leave that to the end because we want to get on to hearing Anna.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so thank you for answering those questions, and hopefully now with all the practice owners speaking, there's going to be examples of those things. So, okay, first speaker, I'd like to introduce you to Anna from Balanced Bodies, and she's going to share her development of women's health and cancer programs. So over to you, Anna. Can't wait to hear you.
Hi, everyone. So I guess my two niche areas came out of two sort of interest areas that I had. So oncology, which just came from personal experience with sort of family members going through cancer treatment. And I guess my sort of passion has sort of spoken for itself there. So I just wanted to learn everything and anything there was about cancer recovery programs. And from there, that ended up being a lot of different relationship building from just a want of wanting to learn more. And that ended up being, I guess, the basis for building lots of different opportunities in different areas, and being able to build this niche and, I guess, authority in that area as well. And then a similar sort of thing has happened with women's health. Again, I was really interested in it. So I guess with oncology and women's health, when I went through uni, we didn't really cover that in a huge amount compared to some of the other areas. So it was up to me to learn more, go to courses, connect with other health professionals, other allied health and specialists. And again, that relationship building went from there. So it went from, meeting for coffee, and then working out ways that we might be able to cross-refer and work together. And then it's just really grown from there. So I've put a lot of time and effort into working with my team, and they sort of have the same mentality in terms of building relationships not only with their referrers, but also with our clients, and building our community around us. So we spend a lot of time doing that, investing in that, getting that face-to-face time with people so they know who we are and what we're about. And yeah, it's kind of grown from there.
Has anyone got any questions for Anna, specific questions? And feel free to ask them during other people speaking as well. We can attend to it at the end. Okay, thank you, Anna. So next we have Ben Taylor from Tailored Health, and Ben is joining us from LA, where it's evening over there. And so if he starts speaking with an American accent, you'll just have to forgive him. But Ben, I can't wait to hear about golf. I know you're over there with the World Speed Golf Champs or something, so yeah, sounds like a pretty good gig. Take it away. Tell us about what you do.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me and thanks for the introduction. Yeah, I'm over in California at the moment, and yeah, it's nice and sunny at about 5:30 p.m. I'll keep it short and snappy, but basically I started Tailored Health close to 3 years ago, and then over the last 18 months to 2 years, I've been doing a lot more with golf, rehab and performance. So as a branch of Tailored Health, there is now Tailored Golf, which basically specialises in getting golfers moving better, either to improve performance or recover from an injury of sorts. So our goal there is to get people playing better, but also for longer, as there's been a lot more recent developments on the health benefits of golf, on longevity, and basically all the exercise benefits, Control C, Control V, they apply to golfers. My passion started, I started playing golf since I was about 10 years old, so I've always had that as part of my life. And then my passion with exercise physiology, I just tried to merge those two together to see exactly how far I could sort of take this this idea of improving golfers' performance through moving better. And then from there, that's taken me all sorts of places. I did a few professional development courses about 2 years ago, and they're based in the States, and it's really uncanny because it's literally 10 minutes away from where I am now. I'm going to spend the next few days there, this massive golf rehab and performance facility. So I'm really excited to go and check out how they do everything there so that I can bring back the ideas back home to Australia where it's not such a big thing. So yeah, basically did those PD courses a couple of years ago, which now led me to working with junior golf athletic development role back in Victoria, in Melbourne, and working with a whole bunch of different golf pros from different golf courses and helping out their golf clients as best possible. I guess the golf coach is sort of like a GP of the allied health world, with do a good job and help out their golfers, and then they'll send you more golfers. So that's where I'm sort of at the moment. Obviously, yeah, it's still something quite new, even though I did those courses quite a while ago, but it is building into more full-time clinical role for me, and I look to build that into multiple AP sort of clinical roles in future. And that's the summary of where I'm at with Tailored Golf. Yeah, I work at a few golf clubs, and the last thing I was going to say was I made an online platform where people could actually go on and get their golf exercises without having to physically be in the same location. And that's like leveraging out on PhysiTrack technology and building a website and a platform where that can happen. So they get their exercises and they can have online consults with me. So technically people can be on the other side of the world and still get their tailored golf exercises. And that's about it. I think Scott maybe asked a question, but I'm struggling because I'm on my phone, so just let me know.
Sure, I can read out the question, Ben. It's, do you charge more for your niche service?
Not yet, or not. No, not at the moment. That's
Ask him
mainly
next
because...
week and that's a yes.
Hey?
Ask him next week and that will be a yes.
Yeah, I should probably look into that. The reason why I haven't, well, part of it I run group services, so that's obviously, a funny rate, but come to think of it, it's a great question, Scott. I probably should up my prices. I already think that I'm at a fairly high level for the area I'm in at sort of 132 an hour. And the good thing I was going to say is most clients are private and happy to pay. Not one's got a Medicare referral from me or brought that in, these golfers and golf clients. So it makes sense, A, because I'm passionate about it, B, because it's sort of economical and viable as a business. And the third one, and this is from a book called Good to Great, the third one is it something that you could be the best in the world at? So you don't necessarily need to be there, but if you have those three elements, so again, it was passion, is it sort of economically viable, and could you potentially be, one of the best or the best in the world at it, then you're looking like you're on track for a successful business.
Ben, we have a question from Nathan. What program do you use, or platform, I suppose Nathan's asking about, for your online platform?
Yeah, so I just leverage out VisiTrack.
Okay.
So, and I've built like a website which sets people through. So I had to fiddle around there a little bit too much of my time. I should have got someone who builds websites to do it. But basically, you go on there, you pay for whatever package or program you want. That steps you through a golf movement screening. From that, I get the results and send them the exercises using VisiTrack. We do follow-up consultations with VisiTrack, and the other part that they get is a biomechanical golf swing analysis in there as well, where they just upload a few videos, I draw some lines on it, and then send it back out to them.
I just want to ask a question about your pay, your charge. How did you work out how much to charge in the first place? Like what steps or what's your critical steps that you use to determine your price?
Yeah, so I definitely didn't start at 132 an hour as an example. So basically, I was a new grad, so I didn't know what to charge, but as I learned more and more and delivered more value, I just kept bumping it up basically 10%. And there's a rule there, and Jason can mention it, and there's a lot of other people on here who know about it, but if you increase your price by 10% and 10% of your clients can stop coming, what you'll actually do is make the same amount of money, but you'll end up freeing up your time because you're not seeing those bottom 10% of your clients. And that's a matter of, so you got to trial and error that, but essentially everyone will know your best clients that are coming in, they're not the ones worried about the money at all, or they're not the ones calling you up all the time and asking for lots of extra hassle and all that stuff. So I just kept putting it up 10% probably every 6 months until, I've sort of sat on it for a little while, and I'll probably look at it again as to how I can offer more value to these people, and then potentially look to bump it up again.
If I can jump in there as well, I was just to talk to what Benny was saying there. Benny was obviously challenged by that, as everyone is, when we turn around and say, "Hey, really?" And we do this with groups all the time, and people sort of sit there and go, "Wow, I'm really undervalued and undercharging, etc." And you end up becoming a charity. And I actually remember I was on the driving range talking to Benny that day about that, and he was quite scared to do it. And I think the first time we actually lifted up 20%, and he didn't lose a single client. Now, when you stop and think about it, what Benny was alluding to, if you run the numbers out, you can easily increase your business by 10 or 15% off prices. You won't drop any clients unless, one, you're not providing that value we spoke about before, and you're in a scenario where they actually feel that you're just like any other provider, and they will go, well, can I get it cheaper? So we're in that situation where if you're showing a better customer experience with more touch points, providing more value, and you've got the right pipeline and pathway in place, then people understand you're on the journey. They don't want to go anywhere else. Ben's at 132. Ben could charge 160, and I don't believe he'd lose any clients. It means he's going to, and people like John and the others on the call are nodding, because we all have to do this. You all have to be in that scenario. When I opened my first clinic, God knows how many years ago, that was, I was the first EP to employ physios like 14 years ago or whatever it was. And everyone was like, oh my God, we actually went out and did a standalone clinic with that. And we actually made sure on a private consult that we were at least $5 more expensive than our other established, big physio clinics and stuff like that. We did that deliberately because that if something's more expensive, it's perceived to be better, right? So in that scenario for private practice, it's in Ben's best interest to do that, but make sure he does have the service to actually back it up, which Ben actually does do. So, most of the time you can increase by 10% and you'll have no drop off. You'll increase another 10%. And even if you did drop off 2 or 3%, it doesn't really matter. And I'll tell you that now, that in big business outside of our industry, the mantra is if you're not pissing off, there's no other way of saying it, this is what they say, if you're not pissing off at least 6 to 8% of your clients because of your high price, then your prices aren't actually high enough. So, you sort of stop and think about that. You can actually be working 15 or 20% less and making 40 or 50% more. So again, it's not about the cash in the business, it's about the profit. And Ben's been able to, exceed on that continuously over the last 6 or 8 months, and he's about to do it again, aren't you, Ben?
Yeah, I was just going to say one last thing as well, is if you look across the board at other allied health, it's ridiculous. I don't see why an EP should charge any less, if not more, than, say, I know physiotherapy, but even dietitian and just all the other allied health. I mean, there's no reason why it should be any different, if not more, in my eyes.
Thanks, Ben. Okay, we're going to move on to Scott now.
Yep.
Scott's from Empowered Healthcare, and he's got some awesome tips on upselling. And what Scott's going to focus on, I think, Scott, is you're going to talk about your clinical clients. You can't possibly just send them away after your 2 CDM sessions. So what else are we doing with those people to ensure that we're getting the best outcomes? Because it's not going to happen in 2 sessions, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not. Good morning, Nadine. Good morning, everybody. Just leading off on that start, wherever the referral comes from, whether it be a chronic disease management referral or private patients, you can't fix them or fix the world within a couple of sessions. And so I looked at my services and looked at what else I can provide rather than just the one-on-one service. And small group classes was where it really fit in. Where I work, there's a good gym space that can fit a good class of 8 to 10 people quite nicely. And so, if just looking at the numbers' sake as well, is similar to what Benny, I charge at the moment about $125 for an hour. And if a client then, if you see them for an hour consult and then a couple of half hours to really start strong with their program for whatever their condition, and then you say, okay, we can start let's do a group class where you can have an hour face-to-face with a few others in a similar boat, where it's more social, more accountability, and they're getting, their price becomes less of an issue because, at the moment, $25 a group class. And so the resistance of seeing you multiple times drops off a bit. But if you've got 8 people in a group class at $25, that's $200 for that hour time frame. Whereas if you're having a one-on-one consult, it's $125. So by having a group class, they are quite profitable in that sense. But as I found out, I almost created a kind of a family or a group class that lives on its own, because there's a coffee shop attached to the gym that I work at. And so it's a social thing. And I really think the exercise and the rehab is one side of why they're there, but the friendships gained and the chance to spend 10 minutes at the end socializing, talking non-clinical, on a non-clinical note, shouting coffees, having a quick social side without the practitioner hat on afterwards, has become something that the clientele, say over 50, really look forward to. And you'll find that I'm starting the next group class and they're still in the coffee shop having a couple of lattes, and they're long-term clients and they're privately paying for those group classes. And another thing that really helped with establish those and also made it easier to sell to them was I was looking at, rather than saying, okay, come to a group class, $25, pay. Next week, another group class, $25 pay. I thought, how can I make it easier for A, for cash flow, but also B, for their commitment, their buy-in, would be to term them into 10-week terms, or I just go off the school terms, because most people have kids or grandkids and they need a break as well. So I just do group classes through the school term, and either they pay for, say, 10 up front for $250, or I just made the casual group class rate at 33. I might even consider it going to 40, just a big enough difference to show the benefit of that long-term buying. And the patients get the results. It's social. They begin, they like you more. And, I should look at it, but there's not many that drop off from those group classes. They just continue to come because it's fun, it's social, and, it really becomes, not expected, but it's not hard to sell to them again and again. And a lot of word of mouth referrals that come through from these patients in the group classes that have turned into clients as well, because the client experience is a good one. So I hope that covers a few things on classes. Please, if anyone has any questions on that, please pop them through. I had a few things on mind to talk to you today about, but another thing that really worked out is with my marketing and this whole thing about increasing your profit is, rather than just looking at more patients coming in, is taking not more advantage, but helping that patient more with your other services, and just the cross-sell and the upsell. If you can increase your average dollar sale or that lifetime value of that client, like Jason said, you've already sold them once. Why sell them again? Using products within the consult or the group class, and if they haven't got it, just say, take this home with you, almost assume the sale, and then not even going, oh yeah, that's great. One thing that really helped me with marketing was just to give more, to be really much of I don't know how many people on this webinar have really heard of, I think was it Gary Vee, Jace, that kind of mentioned jab, jab, hook?
Yeah, absolutely.
Give, then ask. Well, I've kind of gone on this give, and either ask, or the ask almost comes naturally, because you've given enough value, the know, like, and trust is there. And then, if you've got what they need, they'll reach out. So, yeah.
And just to talk to that, what you're saying there, Scotty, is exactly what I was saying at the start about drawing up if you're drawing up a funnel. And while I explain this, I'm actually going to draw it on a Post-it note. And so we get ourselves into that situation where if you guys can see that should show, it's like a funnel. So everything comes into the top of the funnel. The bottom of the funnel is the sell and etc. But it's this middle of the funnel. And what we don't do enough of is go round and round and round and round in that middle part of the funnel in the health industry. So what we tend to do is, like Scotty said, it's about working with the clients you already have and working out. And I have 8 words that I teach all these guys, it's kind of so damn simple. It's like, what else can I do for this patient? Your job is not just to work 5 sessions. Your job is not just to, hey, I've got this client for blah, blah, blah. Your job is to provide them with the solution. Provide them with the solution they want. You've got to be able to go that 2nd level or 3rd level and make sure that you're getting to the real crux of what they're wanting. And that's where the longevity comes in. That's where you're actually able to then, actually change their life and create that impact. They don't come in for a sore back. They didn't come in for that. They came actually in because for the first time in God knows how many years, they can't get down on the ground and play with their 6-year-old grandson. They didn't come in to fix their shoulder that's been, buggered since their old rugby days, which was 15 years ago. They're coming in because they now can't go with their daughter and do gymnastics training and blah, blah, blah. There's always underlying, emotional hooks, etc., that you need to be able to get to. And that's what Scotty's been able to work really well. And in that respect, you can then upsell a lot more. So Scotty's done it really well on other programs, and we started that the Roll to Recover program with the athletes he had, which allowed him to then upsell rollers and self-massage tools, make a little bit of money there. But then on top of that, you've also then got groups that roll through. You create a belonging and tribe-based environment with people that want to work together. There's more accountability because it's peer accountability, not accountability to a health professional, a doctor, or that a lot of people go type of thing on. So there's peer accountability. There's the sale of a product. Yes, I'm using the word sale, but there's also the value add there of Scott being able to then get, those people get what they really want at the end of the day. They were athletes, they get better performance, better results, and that's rolled on to other people then coming through as a net result. So it's about a 4 to 6 time multiple with you being able to work with these clients if we rotate through the middle of that funnel. And the jab hook thing, is Gary V, but go a lot further than that. I'd say this to everyone and all the guys here in the tribe and that type of stuff as well. Like, they know that I say all the time, it's about, you've got to give in public and ask in private. You've got to constantly give and give and give with no expectation of return. And social media is actually, let's not get into that because that's another massive thing, right? But I see it all the time where someone goes, hey, we did this, everyone's doing video, and all of a sudden it's like they do a video going, we did this, this, and this with this person, and they do a case study or testimonial. But then they get to the end of it and go, and if we, with your glute strength for running, please hit us up. Our website's below, and they do a sell. And they've literally gone from trying to get someone in the top of the funnel straight to the bottom of the funnel. They haven't actually warmed people up. They haven't earned the right to actually ask for a sale. They need to be doing a lot more of give with no expectation on return, which is those jabs, so that when you're actually going to ask for that, you can, like Scott said, assume the sale. Bring products into your consults is another really great way as well. Just use them, because then people don't go at the end, oh no, I'm not going to buy that $15 thing or $10 TheraBand, etc. And you sit there and you just bring in this part and parcel. If you've got them on the right pathway with the right journey, people won't question that. And the only one they ever question is something like, a Swiss ball for $60. And you say, well, yeah, but Rebel's selling for $95. And they go, oh, fantastic, great, I'll grab one now. So
I'll pump it up for you.
Yeah.
Scott, you've got a question here. Could you be able to answer that one about charging for missed group and billing software before we move on to?
I do charge for missed groups because I say we're buying a term, not a 10-pack. And that, it's almost saying, well, what if you call me up 10 minutes before the class saying that you can't make it, and I've, said no to somebody else filling in that, 8 or 10 person group class. I've said no to somebody else coming in because I thought you were coming. And so it makes it easier. Let's just say 10 session pass, and they attended 9 sessions. Dale, I use Nucal as a practice software, which has quite a good feature for adding in custom classes and passes where you can just knock them off. I do a 10-week expiry, but my group classes run Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So most people, even though it says 10 weeks expiry, most people use it up within 4 to 5 weeks, and then are just buying a new one. And yeah, like I said, it's quite easy to send them a paid invoice of the initial pass, and then the pass redemption list, which you just send together or print off together. And most health funds are quite happy to take those 2 receipts to their, to pay for the service, to rebate the client, I should say. So, and yeah, Jason mentioned before this Roll to Recover program, and once again on the topic of increasing your profits, don't underestimate who you currently know or your current network of professionals, friends, colleagues on who can be a door opener for you. I'm a swimmer and surf lifesaver, as well as an exercise physiologist, and I had friends coming to me saying, oh, my shoulder's sore, I want to work on my core strength for ski paddling and board paddling and swimming. And so I was finding I was helping a few friends, and I was like, why don't I put on a education night where we do some recovery sessions leading up to our national championship, so the 2 weeks before. And so I did a whole event on Facebook using Eventbrite, where it was expected to buy a ticket, which included a foam roller. And I added on an additional awesome performance pack, which had all the bells and whistles, extra products, etc. And the coach and the head of the surf club marketed it for me. So it came with their authority. It wasn't me just sleazily selling to them. And it filled up, sold out. We literally needed more room in the massive room at the surf club. And everyone had a great night. It was profitable. And that led on to filling up a group class of performance Pilates that was ongoing as well, but also just the fact that that opened up another person wanting to do their surf club. And then that someone at that night, which also sold out, was head of the Netball Association up the Central Coast. So then we did one for the netball team, and all of a sudden it's just one door opens after the other. And it's a total non-chronic disease management kind of item. And it's that give really, giving information with no expectation of, them becoming clients, but just enough to make your time worthwhile, really helped with building up this authority within this kind of recovery and athlete performance kind of niche. And then the second thing is using other people's networks to market for you, because they're looking after value and to help their athletes, their members, etc. And so it's almost the best of both worlds. So I hope that kind of gives a few people a couple of ideas on just who can be door openers and where you can focus on what you're passionate about, and really, if you're passionate about it, as Benny was saying before, there's a niche, or there's a way to make it profitable. It would be a worthy endeavour. So yeah, that's my side on the performance stuff, and it does help with selling products. And another thing just on that product, which is one of the easiest ways to increase your profit, is by selling products within one-on-one consults to the chronic disease clients, etc. Is don't be afraid to sell it. People hate being sold to, but they love to buy. And so using it in the consult, having packages where you combine a foam roller and a spiky ball, or a TheraBand shoulder pulley and Swiss ball together, where you can see that there's a bit of value for the pack, really makes people excited to buy it, because they can see a bit more value, and ultimately achieve better outcomes. So that's been another thing as well, which has helped, is just really incorporating products, having them in stock, on the wall, on the shelf, using them, not being afraid to use them in the consult, has really helped with being able to sell. And you mentioned before, just last week, Nadine, was take ideas and look at the success of other industries, not just health, or exercise physiologists, in how adding on and upselling products can really make a big impact on the profit. I was channel flicking a couple of months ago, and I saw the show The Mentor by Mark Burris. I think it was on channel 10 or 7 or something. And what something really stood out was it was a florist just down the road, and they were selling flowers, but they weren't selling the additional gift cards or chocolates or candles or fluffy bears. And so he really was like onto this lady about selling more of the additional products. And I think that the company Roses Only, something stood out was, if that Roses Only online roses delivery service did not sell the add-ons of the premium gift card or the handwritten note or the chocolates, they wouldn't be in business. They'd be belly up if they didn't sell the products. So people always like to buy a few things. So I really took that on board and really pushed some products. And it has helped, because they walk, like Jason said, we are selling invisible health services. It takes a while for patients sometimes to see a result, but if they go home with something tangible, whether it be a PDF on how to use a foam roller or a spiky ball that they can use, feel, and actually show people as a conversation starter, I think the word of mouth gets out, and they feel more valued. So I hope that doesn't waffle on too much, but
thanks, Scott, for talking about products, because I think it's something that some people may not have thought about including in their practice. And we spoke last week about the classic hairdresser, and I'm sure everyone's been to a hairdresser, no matter if it's a barber or a 5-star salon, they always try and sell you a product, do they not? So these guys have been doing it for years, and it's retail 101. So maybe we can learn something from another industry. I'd like to now move on to...
I'll just jump on just really quickly, Nadine, with that.
We'll have to be so quick, Jason.
Absolutely. I won't be as long as Scotty, but, which has never happened before. But pharmacists are one of the best ones. If you think about more health medical type stuff, the pharmacy industry are brilliant at it. You know, you go, most of the time we'll go back of house for like a script, but they know product placement. They know where to put things, what to do. They use their end caps really well. They'll have point of sales. They'll have loyalty programs in place for anything that's front of house, not scripts from the doctors, but anything else front of house. And so you always look at the profit margins. The profit margins in a pharmacist might be in the same little shopping centre 30 metres from Coles or Woolworths, but their price for a $4 item is $6.50, but people buy it. People don't stop to think about that. Yes, there's a 10% rule where 10% will always be the script that wants to spend 5 or 10 minutes going into the other shop to save $1.50. That's always going to happen, but that's not your target. Don't get the fear mentality in our head and the ceiling in place that people aren't prepared to do that, because pharmacists are brilliant in our industry, as such, at doing that. So always keep that in mind. And products is a fantastic one to give them more empowerment to be able to work on their things themselves or in their workplace, etc., which only then adds more value to you getting that happening as well.
Thanks, Jace. That was pretty quick for you. Well done.
Absolutely.
I'd like to move on to Danae. Danae, you've got such a unique service. You've brought together dance and exercise physiology, and you've also got some cancer program in there. So tell us more about what you're doing and how you're making this profitable.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nadine. So basically, DNA Health Group has been running for about 10.5 years. We started in a physiotherapy practice and we've moved twice since then as we've needed bigger premises and bigger team. But about 2.5 years into it, my husband and myself decided to also open a dance studio, Alegria Dance Centre. And it's this unique combination of the exercise, the clinical Pilates and the dance studio, which I think has created this amazing atmosphere for our clients. So a lot of what we're all about is sort of touching on what a lot of people have already said today, but it's really about that client experience and getting people to feel uplifted and positive and I guess joyous about movement. So in our current premises, we've got a really lovely big gym area, but we've also created it to not look like a gym. So it's nice and open and clean and bright and very relaxed as well. So a lot of our clients who come in, which we discovered early on, don't necessarily like the atmosphere of a gym. They're not comfortable with that sort of environment. It's very scary for them. Whereas they come in to see us and it's very welcoming. It's very open. We've actually got a little sort of window cut out between the dance studio and the exercise space that doesn't have glass in it. So our clients, exercise clients, can watch beautiful dancing. There's a lot of laughter, there's a lot of happiness, and particularly with a lot of the clients that we see, so, you know, chronic pain and the oncology clients as well, we really find that facilitates their progression and their improvements as well, because it's really important to us to not have a clinical environment as such, especially when they're going from doctor to doctor and hospital environments and all of that, where they come to us. It's a really fresh, welcoming vibe, I guess. So that's one thing that's really worked well. The other thing is obviously having the cross referrals between the two businesses as well. So we have a lot of the dance students who come to us for exercise, so whether it be conditioning, rehabilitation, clinical Pilates, and then vice versa, we have our exercise clients who might like to go and dance. And I find this a brilliant form of exercise, again, from, you know, balance, strength, cardiovascular, and all the cognitive benefits as well. So I feel like we're providing an opportunity for people to move that might be outside of the traditional gym-based environment, which, again, quite a lot of people aren't very comfortable with, I guess, in the terms of clientele that we see. So that's one side of things that works really well for us. The other side is we're very big on empowering our team. So we give them a lot of freedom to follow their passions and do what inspires them. And that has led to one of our EPs who we identified very early on had a real passion for exercise oncology, Kate. So about 4 years ago, we co-founded Movement Against Cancer. And that's just really, really grown. So we're to the point now where she's full-time, basically oncology based. We're looking at bringing on another practitioner. And again, I think the combination of having a team that's so passionate about what they do, the clients feel that they tell their friends, they tell their family. We have them referring a lot of their loved ones through word of mouth, and entrusting us with their health as well. And again, having that really nice, friendly, non-intimidating environment just produces brilliant outcomes with our clients. So that's, I guess, what has really been instrumental to our success.
Has anyone got any questions for Danae there, or anyone like to follow up? Jace, have you got any?
No, I think Danae's actually done a really good job there. I've been to both her second last clinic and the current one, and that as well. And that's why I wanted Danae to be a part of this, because what she's done really uniquely is really worked outside the box. So it hasn't been more of a generic, hey, do group sessions, hey, sell a product and things like that. It's been really, really individualistic in the way we've been able to bring that together with the dance studio, and the way that cross pollinates, from the sell point of view, is actually fantastic, because there's a really great understanding between, I guess if you call them practitioners in the dance side of things, and the practitioners in the allied health side of things, can have a really good collaborative approach there, and I think that's worked brilliantly. So in many respects, it's being able to create a niche in and around their passion and what they love to do, but being able to take that and go, well, hang on, how do we work this? How do we make that happen? And there's probably a lot of people on this right now. We've got some pretty large numbers, which is great, that are sitting there that don't know or don't really feel that they can do that, because they might be looking, like that question came before, and I'll address that at the end about the targets and things like that. You've got to think outside the square. Maybe it's working an online presence. Maybe it is actually doing some co-opetition and not collaboration or competing, but co-opetition with other people in and around it, and just breaking that down, brainstorming and working out with other people, what is the best way for us to make that work? Because there's always a way. I mean, like what Danae's done there with Justin and that is just absolutely fantastic. So some really, really good ways of putting that forward, and it completely then drives that mentality of 1 inch wide and 8 miles deep, and you can really drive home a specialty, a level of authority. And Danae, they have a massive, massive amount of private clientele. They don't rely on, you guys don't even do NDIS, I don't know, and that type of stuff. Yeah. So they don't even do like NDIS. They're not worried about what's happening with DVA and all of these type of things, because they've got a model that's grown massively. And, there's been like 3 new team members that we brought on board in the last 12 months. So there's been huge growth. And it's been fantastic, all because we've worked on a private model and we've just stuck to our expertise and authority, and really been really creative and really smart on creating that authority, and not just sort of rolling with the, follow everyone else mentality.
Cool. Thanks, Jace. We are pushed for time, and we've still got 2 speakers, so I can see the questions coming through. Can I ask, I think, Danae, there might be a question there for you, if you could answer that in the chat box. We're now going to go to Tim. Now, Tim might still be a bit jet lagged. He's only just got back from the UK, so I saw you with your coffee in the background, but I can't wait to hear about your such unique service. You're obviously interested in helping people that are homeless or at risk of homelessness, so yeah, if we could have Tim.
Thanks, Nadine. Hi, everyone. I know Danae's just started screen sharing with me. Is everyone else seeing that, or is that just me?
No, that's everyone.
That's okay. I'll start speaking anyway. But yeah, so my
screen, Danae.
That's right.
It's my story starts probably 2 years ago, when I started working for myself, and my original motivations were very altruistic, and in that I believed that the people who were the most needy within our population were the ones who I could benefit the most, and who could benefit from exercise physiology, but also probably had the most barriers to accessing those services. And so from those motivations, I was always very hesitant to ask people for money to pay for services. So I was often undercharging. But then I engaged with a group called Common Ground Queensland, who provide a housing service for people who are homeless or formerly homeless or at high risk of homelessness. So this is a very high prevalence of mental health conditions, disabilities, drug and alcohol abuse, people who've been sleeping rough, or even quite a high proportion of women who've suffered domestic violence and have had to leave a home suddenly. And so this is obviously a very high prevalence of comorbidities as well. And so this facility or residence has a very strong supportive foundation. They have doctors on site, they have social workers on site, nurses on site, and support staff. And one of the things that they did was they got a grant to build a very small gym facility. So it's probably about 3 meters by 3 meters, and it's stocked with just very simple TheraBands, some dumbbells. They've got one exercise bike, and also skipping ropes and just very basic equipment. But it is a place where the people who live there can at least invest in their health. And it was something I was quite surprised in, that there was a high motivation to do that, even though these are people who aren't sure where their next meal is coming from, who are perhaps feeling threatened for their safety, but they still want to invest in their health. And so initially I was doing this voluntarily, donating my time to do it. I was doing 2 hours a day, 1 hour in the morning, 1 in the evening, and was feeling really good about myself, but it wasn't a sustainable model. And eventually it actually cost me my business. I had to close my clinic doors because I couldn't afford to sustain it. And that was absolutely gutting. And that's when Jason probably helped me immeasurably, was to try and get back on my feet. And it really hit home to me that the power of profit, I guess, and it is the lifeblood of your business. And I heard recently an interview with Simon Sinek, and we often think of Simon as that, start with why. He's got a very touchy-feely, altruistic view around people as well. And the question posed to him was, do you hate money? And he said, no, not at all. He said, your business, though, is like a car. It has to help you get where you want to go. It's going to help you achieve what you want to achieve and the legacy you want to leave in this world. But money is the fuel. And no one buys a car just to put fuel in it. So you don't have a business just to keep pumping cash into it as much as you can. It's got to be able to take you somewhere. And so I had to completely rejig my mentality, which has been hard. But surprisingly, everyone that I worked with, all my clients, all the GPs that I worked with, they were more than happy for me to put up my prices, start charging for things that I should have been charging for in the first place. And that now has given me enough revenue whereby I actually have 2 separate entities. One that, so my private practice, which the profits can then support the work I do with Common Ground. And we've also been able to sustain that with some sponsorship from local corporate entities. So they kick in a little bit of money each month to also help support that. And they're businesses that have an investment in the community at large, in that suburb and in the local area, to make sure it's a nice place to live. So I guess the lessons I've learned in that is about valuing your service to an extent that it is sustainable and it does fulfill your vision in terms of what you want to leave behind and the legacy that you want to have within your communities. And you can't do that if the business doesn't exist. And unfortunately, or fortunately, you've got to cop it that money and profit are the lifeblood of your business, and that is the thing that allows you to sustain that. So I guess that's me in a nutshell, Nardine. I'm not sure if you want me to expand any more, if there are any questions on that.
Well, I think I could keep asking you questions all day, Tim, but I'll let the members ask the questions in the chat function. I'd like to now move on to John, because he's waiting patiently in his mobile office, ready to talk about his business, Kinetic Medicine. And thank you, John, for waiting patiently in your car. I hope it's nice and warm where you are.
Yeah, no, I've only just turned the car on because it's getting a bit too warm, so the AC is going now, so it's all good. I'm in my car because for the first maybe 2 years of my business life, this is probably where I spent most of my time. So I live on the lower mid-north coast of New South Wales. I live in a town called Taree. I moved there 8 years ago to work in a private hospital setting in an inpatient, outpatient capacity. And I identified in my practice as being part of a big health service that they were really missing a lot of fundamental opportunities for healthcare service delivery in our community. There's lots of health needs in rural health and not a lot of boots on the grounds to do it. And we're particularly prone in rural areas to wait for public health and community health services to jump in and do something. But I think that comes back to a bit of that charitable mindset. You know, we're just hoping that, you know, the Sky Fair is going to drop the bucket of cash from the sky and we'll run something. And as long as we got that funding, it'll be fine. But it never is. You know, we're in a population group where we have some of the highest rates of COPD in the state, and yet the Public Health Service had their funding cut for pulmonary rehab for a period of time, which is, you know, most pulmonary physicians will say that, you know, I can give you all the drugs in the world, but the only thing that's going to change your disease state is whether you do pulmonary rehab. So I left the security of being employed to start up private practice. And one of the disadvantages of rural health is the lack of accessibility to transport and distance. And so I took that to be something of an advantage, that you know, if I can go to our clients, then that's what I'm going to do. And so since that time, in the last 3 years, we've established in 5 rural centres, some of them quite medium to large. You know, so Taree has about 18,000 people in a rural referral hospital, and Foster has about 18 to 20,000 people as well, but functions largely as a retirement home, as a suburb, and except during summer when everyone comes for holidays. And so we actually have the highest average age electorate in the whole country. The average age of our population is, I think, 67 or 69, right? So we have a lot of demand for modern healthcare services, and telehealth just isn't going to cut it. So for us, we have a fairly, you know, I love that, you know, Danae and Ben and even Anna have really alternative kind of business models when you look at some of the things that they do, but we're a very sort of ordinary looking EP practice. But you know, so we do a lot of chronic disease. You know, my particular specialty is in pain and in musculoskeletal health, so that brings in a lot of return to work and that sort of stuff. But you know, our business model is underwritten by the fact that I know what works in modern healthcare and continue to try and understand that. Someone asked the question about, you know, what research do you do for your business model? Just, you know, stay up to date as a health professional, so you don't fall into the trap of some other professions that have been left 20, 30 years behind in the shade to the detriment of our whole communities. And I think, you know, if we acknowledge things like behaviour change and their fundamental impact on achieving an outcome for our clients, you know, outcomes are marketable. You know, when you change people's lives, and thankfully as EPs we can take testimonials, and you have hundreds of people testifying to the fact that, you know, I hate exercise, never liked it, always been this way. And they showed me 3 things to do, and it, you know, just by doing them, because I could see that, it, you know, this is as important as taking my pills. It didn't hurt. It wasn't hard. And now, you know, I'm playing with my kids. I can get up off the floor in the garden. I can, you know, do all of those things. You know, that's really where it's at. So I guess the thing that might be seen as innovative for what we do is that, you know, I heard someone say that there's never a shortage of money. So we live in an area where I think one stat was about 90% of people are on some kind of government benefit. And I still see Maseratis, Porsches and BMWs driving around our streets. So someone has cash, yeah? And so I often like to think, well, who's got my clients and who has my cash? I heard Jo Burston, who's a female entrepreneur and has a program called Rare Birds for trying to foster female entrepreneurship. And she said, you know, somewhere in the world, someone wakes up in the morning and has more of something that you want. You know, how can you connect with them? So a lot of what we do is, you know, find strategic partners. So whether that's other businesses, you know, not-for-profit agencies like Diabetes New South Wales have been a really valuable partner for us. They can't sustain a workforce in regions like ours, so I'm committed to us being a rural health workforce for hire to deliver best quality care that will actually achieve an outcome. You know, that question about profitability, I think, know what it is that you need. Like, start with the end in mind. We think profit is sort of like this luxury, but if you start with what you actually need and think about the things that you need, not now, but think about the things that you're going to need when you be what you want to be, and work back from that. And you'll find that the hourly rate's not far off of what the market value is. So, you know, I would try and work everything back off of, you know, 160 something bucks an hour, and everything factors back into that. Well, how do we make that work? Because that's just the cost to run a business. And people come asking to be bulk billed, and I tell them, well, look, you know, we might bulk bill on occasion, but here's the thing, people who bulk bill usually don't buy into what we do. So if you're not going to be prepared to buy into what we do, that's okay. You know, there are other people who might be able to help you, but I guarantee you that, you know, we will get you an outcome if that's what you really want. Occasionally we do bulk bill, and we make a promise with them that this is never going to happen again if you don't show up. And sometimes that allows us to achieve an outcome with limited resources, but we garner that commitment from the person. And that's really the thing that money helps you to have is, you know, people invested in achieving something with you. Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for new partnerships. At the moment, I'm working with a local GP that I've done a lot of pain education with on a national basis, and we're looking at putting together a research project about how we can contract services to his practice and prove that you don't need large-scale multidisciplinary pain clinics that cost a bomb and potentially achieve dubious outcomes when you've got a knowing, loving, trusting community GP and equally capable allied health professional. You know, small teams, let's be lean and agile and set up a structure that allied health funding could follow in, present the case. But, you know, somewhere along the way, we have to acknowledge that, you know, money has to come from somewhere. There's tons of it somewhere. We just have to find where it is and make the business case for it. So, I think I waffled enough.
That was awesome, John. Thank you. As the MC, unfortunately, I have to keep everyone on track, but I just want to say 3 things. We've got a couple of questions there in the chat function, which we'll go back to in a moment. This is recorded. It will be on the EBN later this week. Second thing is, everyone online, you obviously, you know, need to go back to work soon. As a courtesy to the speakers today who have given up their time for free to assist other people, and it always amazes me about our profession that we're all so willing just to help each other and help grow our profession. I'm going to send out an evaluation. Look, I know what people think about evaluations. They take too long and they're annoying, but for the ESSA Business Network to keep providing you support, we need to know what you want, and if you're happy with this chat, if there's more you want to hear. So it's less than 2 minutes. I'm sending it out this afternoon, so I'd really appreciate it, and as a courtesy to the speakers, because I'd like to provide them feedback as well. Jace, I think there's a question that we need to go back to from Mark. He was clarifying the scanning the marketplace. It was way back.
I saw the messages going through. I tried to write a couple of quick little dot points here to remember who was asking questions and things like that. Look, I think hopefully I've got the interpretation of what Mark's got in there about reviewing external providers. So if he's got a diabetes program or something, or a cancer program, I think the two examples that he gave. Look, at the end of the day, these are just sort of simple semantics. It's check out what people, if you're wanting to, take your blinkers off from yourself and look at what other people are doing, then it's sort of pretty simple stuff like jump on to look at their website, see what they're offering. Are they offering online stuff? Are they, do they have online bookings and that type of stuff? Do they talk or promote particular programs or services that might be a little bit exclusive or that actually link to what you do? Also check out social media avenues and that type of stuff about what they're marketing and promoting. You can always do some cold calls, if you want to know what what they do regarding their diabetes program. I think you spoke about, diabetes is one of the two. Ring up as a person saying, I got told to come along for my doctor to do your type 2 diabetes program. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? And see what their sales like, see what their sales like, see what they say and do, whether they even close, whether they know what's going on, and get information that way. So there's those type of things that they're the easy things to quickly and simply do. But to be totally honest, I don't like to sort of think about, like, I always go this, we've got a pie. Our industry is a pie, right? Everyone has a slice of that. There's a small slice or a big slice for every single person. If you always try and push back against other people, against your competitors, what are the external market competitors doing? All you're going to do is push back. People get pissed, they push back, and you have that almost an internal fight inside the pie. What if our mentality was exactly like John said, there's more work out there than any of us know and understand. And looking at what these guys and what these guys here are doing and their clients and things like that are able to do and niche out and do, you can do, every single person on this call can do this 2 or 3 times over and create their own niched environment. So it's actually best to work with co-opetition. Sit down with those external providers, go and take them to lunch and actually say, hey, hang on a sec, rather than pushing back and I try and fight for your clients and you fight for mine, how do we niche this down into collaborating? I mean, I've had clients before that were 800 meters apart on the same street in the same suburb, and they were brilliant because we got them to sit down and go through that so that they actually started to know who does what and how you can actually cross-refer to each other. So you're actually working with the clients that you want and the others don't want, and vice versa. And you actually created a bigger marketplace in that scenario. So there's actually 2 different mentalities. So I would sit there and go, what are those 8 words? What else can I do for this patient? I'd look at co-opetition so that you can actually really niche down in your area and create that value for other people in and around, create more understanding about diabetes or cancer if they're the 2 programs that you're running, and that's your niche. And you're going to get a lot more buy-in in that respect. And the mentality is, how do you become their solution? How do you knock their socks off? If I could do one thing today to knock those clients' socks off, what would it be? All right. And that's one of the best things you can ask, not in an evaluation, but a feedback form. Always ask for feedback, not evaluation. So we'll do a feedback form, Nadine. But yeah, it's one of those things going, hey, what do we do well? What can we do better? And, if there's one thing I could do to knock your socks off, what would that be? Find out what that is and deliver it. We've had people do it. This is about 8 years ago or so now, 8 or 10 years ago, said, I'd love foot spas. And we went, okay, great. And they thought we were kidding us. They were kidding. So we actually went and did it. We bought 3 of the $60 foot spas from Big W and put it in. Now, we only had it for a couple of weeks because it's too hard to fill it up, disinfect it. We then said they had to turn up 10 minutes early and this and that, but it became way too hard and complex for our receptionists to be able to be constantly feeling like in and out and cleaning, blah, blah, blah. So we got rid of it. But people were blown away because we actually did that. It's like, oh my God, we asked for it and they gave it to us. It's like, yep. So knock their socks off, and the traction you get as a net result is brilliant. So there's that one for Mark.
And one of the other questions from Nathan was around, I guess, selling to or changing the mindset of those corporate clients or employers where you're trying to sell health services as
needs versus wants.
Look, I think this is probably a challenge a lot of people have had for a long, long time. Anyone can answer this, but yeah, go for it.
I mean, there's really 2 things on this. It's the needs versus wants, right? 2 things. One is give them the hard facts. like John was quite open about that with what he does. Give him the hard facts. Don't talk about, talk about past numbers and the benefits. So show them what you've done. You know, I can walk in and say with one of the stuff that we did with Qantas, we took them from $1.264 million in their premium to $645,000 in 1 year. So we built out an $82,000 program that looked like this, and this, and we reduced their premium by whatever thousand. If you can actually do that and show that, that's hard facts, because money talks. So always stick to the money, always show them what they can do in a corporate setting, because money really isn't a driver. It's not a needs and wants. Money at the end of the day talks. The second thing I think you should always do is think about a compass, and think about on the left-hand side, they're trying to actually get away from certain things. They're trying to get away from fears and frustrations. Frustrations are their immediate thing, such as, like downtime, sick people being away, sick, leave entitlements, all that type of stuff. And the other downside is the fears. And the fears are the stuff that's never going to happen. But that's like, everyone's going to hate us, and it's going to create an us versus them mentality on the floor to management, etc. And so you're trying to get away from that. And on the other side, you've got to have your wants and aspirations. Same thing. What are they wanting right here and right now? What are the aspirations long term? And so your job to sell is in that situation is identify what their fears and frustrations are, identify what their wants and aspirations are, and stretch that. And I'm doing this deliberately now as well, because you always want to do it down to the left and up to the right, and stretch that mentality. What don't they want? What are they, you're not playing on fears and frustrations. You're just finding out what's annoying them, what they don't want. Great. So if you don't want that and you want this, and what you're doing is you're pacing them through that. It becomes a pace lead situation. So you really don't want this. No, I don't. And you don't want that, and that. Great. And you're really trying to avoid these. Yep, that's right. But what you're wanting is to achieve this and this. Yep. And that and that. And in 12 months, this. That's correct, Jace. And you go, great. So the next logical step would be, boom. So it's all in your approach, tonality, and that's a massive thing in the way you actually do that. But your mentality is twofold. One is work off facts, figures, and experience of what you can do and prove them. And secondly, work off the fears and frustrations and stretch to where they need to be the wants and aspirations. The next logical step is the how, because they don't know how. And people will pay a lot of money for how. They know what they want. They know why they want it, but they don't know how. And guess what? We are the how. They pay money for that.
And look, that's another webinar in itself. So for anyone online, if they want to hear more about some of the things that we've touched on today, it's been very broad today, obviously. I hope that's been a taster for everyone. If there's something that you want to get more specific about, there's some real specific challenge you would like us to address with other business owners, please let me know in your feedback form. I think we're going to round up there now, guys.
Sorry, can I jump in? There's two quick ones here I can handle in 60 seconds.
Yep.
Miles asked about a face-to-face expectation, and I just wrote it down here. The face-to-face expectations of when to, of how many hours you would do to see seeing clients each week, etc., etc. Miles, I would do it this way. At the end of the day, there's two things, right? There's one thing. It's up to you with what you want. Some of the people that I work with decide that they would rather be business owners and work with clinics and teams, etc., and not see face-to-face, right? That's like me. Others decide, hey, I really love my technical skills. I love to be able to work with clients as well. So great, we build a business model that's based around them being a half-time practitioner or a full-time practitioner. And it's just different metrics. There's different teams and different roles. So you can do it either way, but there is no right and wrong. It's up to you as an EP in this situation to decide what you want to do with your business, and then we can design the model in and around that. So that's easy. The second one is bring it down to utilization, not to numbers. So it's not how many hours should I see clients or how many numbers of clients each week, but break down your top priorities of effectiveness. So build into your default diaries like your marketing and your teamwork and your systems and operations, sales, etc., finances. Build all those things in first, see what's left out of a 38-hour week, and then measure your effectiveness and measure utilization. Because you might find that by the time you do all of your other top priorities, you've only got 21 hours a week left. Great. So you're now measuring yourself off 21 hours based on your priorities. If you've got bigger teams in place and you can actually do 30 hours because all the other roles are taken by others, great. Measure yourself off the 30 hours that's available. We've got tools on that and templates based around utilization. It's really simple and easy, but base it off utilization of what you want from your business, not off numbers as a right and wrong. So hopefully I've answered that one. And the last one was from MRT. I'm not sure who that is, but MRT. He asked about break even, etc. And I know this might sound like a political answer, but there is no real answer to that, simply because I just wrote it down. I just ran two numbers here really simply to write it out. If you were to bulk bill, and let's say it's $53, $53 for a bulk bill consult, you do 20 consults, you make $1,060. If you have a non-bulk billing scenario in place and you charge $80 for a session, the same 20 clients, that's $1,600. So the difference between bulk billing 20 clients and not bulk billing 20 clients with a $27 gap or whatever is $540 a week. Now, there's a lot of EPs working out of medical centres that are only being charged $160 or $200 a day for room rental. And he asked about that. So if you're actually just working off a model where you're doing $80 consults, not bulk billing, you've made $540 a week difference in your break even. That's 3 days consulting out of that doctor's surgery or that room rental situation at an allied health clinic, etc., that's already paid for purely based on your structure. So there is no real answer to do with your break evens. It really is a lot of different metrics, but one of them straight off the bat is what you're actually charging, and that gets back to profit, that gets back to bulk billing and not bulk billing, etc. Please stop bulk billing, please stop killing our industry. That's just my opinion, but anyway. So that one, and the massage one I think was done by MRT as well, about sports massage as well. Yeah.
Thanks, Jace.
I'll breathe now.
Okay, great. Thanks again to everyone online. If you do want to get in touch with Jason, if you've got a question about your business and just want to have a casual chat to see what he can offer you, his details are in the EBN under business services and providers. If anyone online has a specific question for any of the business owners, and we haven't covered it here now, please email me, nadine.presland@essa.org.au, and I'll reach out to the business owners and see what we can do. But thank you so much to everyone today for being online. I know this is valuable work time, and thank you to all the speakers for giving up your time. It's really appreciated. Hope to see you all again.
Thanks, Nadine. Thanks for organising this.
Thanks, guys.
See you. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.